Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Your favorite podcast is Critical Blast.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
And I'm Scott Wakefield, host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham, where we talk about comic books and all kinds of great storytelling, sometimes with incredible guests. And we want you to join us Wednesday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you there.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
And that's that. It seems like it's different every night. Hi, Barb.
Hi. Wow, that's a new opener.
Yeah. Okay.
I
We have to
haven't seen
stay on
that
our
opener.
toes. They don't want us to slip into complacency for our openers. Be ready for the show. So we're ready. Hi, Barb. It's Wednesday night, and that means Wham from Silverline. I'm your host, Scott Wakefield. I'm joined by Barbara Kalberg, and tonight we're going to talk about making a scene. But before we get there, Barb, you know what's coming up next month?
Yes, your Kickstarter.
Yes, Steam Patriots #2 and Beyond the Stars #2. I'm very excited. It's been much too long. I do plan, for all of you out there, to give a little discussion about being a comic books writer on the side, and which is what most of us are, doing comic books as a side gig, and the difficulties of making it happen and being consistent. That's going to be a chat for maybe a show, but either way, in the ensuing few weeks, especially the middle of April through the end of April, while the Kickstarter campaign is running, I've had questions about why did it take so long to get Steam Patriots #2 out. And Barb, I know you've had some hiccups along the way with Divinity, and I might pick your brain about why did it take so long to get
Guess what I started today?
What's that?
I got the first 6 pages of Divinity #4.
#4, very nice, very nice.
So I'm going to ink and color those up.
Beautiful. It's a great feeling. Once you get that momentum, that's a good feeling. You've got 2 and 3 in the bag, and 4 on the way. That's fantastic. So next month, the 11th, everybody out there, mark your calendars. If you have not gone to Kickstarter, you can very simply go there to Kickstarter.com. You can search Silverline, or you can search Steam Patriots, or you can search Beyond the Stars, and you can find our next campaign that's coming up in just a few weeks. We would love for you to click that get notified, because that just gives us a great, good, warm, fuzzy feeling that lots of people out there want to be notified the very moment it launches. And that's all you're doing. You're just saying, I want to get notified. So that is coming up. Also, I have heard word that lots and lots of people are getting their previous campaign comics, which includes Divinity #3.
I'm anxiously waiting for my box. I got a notice that it has shipped, because I have a show the day before Easter, and I need those books.
You want them? Yes. And those of us on the inside, a lot of times. So I just tell Roland, hang on to my comics till I see ya. And so he has a box of stuff he gives me, saves him on shipping. He doesn't have to ship from Florida to New York, and I get all my comic books in one chunk. So getting news that they're arriving is great, and we have our VIP fan, Vic, out there. Good evening, Vic.
Vic.
Great to have you here. We're going to talk the craft of writing. Now, if folks out there haven't noticed, I'm a little heavy on the craft of writing because I don't have much to talk about with the craft of arting, of doing the visual side of comic books. I know what I like to consume. I have questions for the artists about the craft and about what goes into penciling and inking and coloring and lettering and all those sorts of things. But my heart and my skill set, when I say skills, that's in that, it's all relative, how skilled I actually am, is in the creation of the script of the story. So tonight, we wanted to break it down to the art of creating a scene, and a scene within a story.
I'm good at making scenes.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I'm sure. When you don't get what you want, or when you hold your breath and fall and make it a scene. We've all made our scenes, but in the story crafting world, and we can delve into screenplays, in movies, comic books, and prose and long form and so forth. What those stories are almost always, and there are variations to any rule. They're usually broken down into various scenes. Now, stage productions sometimes, or movies, are limited by their budget. They don't have room for lots and lots of scenes. That's why some low budget movies or TV shows don't go to a lot of places. They don't change their scenery very often. In the Star Trek world, a lot of times the scenes, you'll notice a lot of recurring themes when they go on their away missions. Low budget TV shows will just have a handful of places, and
sitcoms will only have like 5 sets.
Exactly. And the old style of sitcom too was the stationary camera, right? And I mean, usually, so you think of Seinfeld. I know I'm going back to the 90s here. But Seinfeld would have his apartment, right? And there'd be a camera angle on the kitchen, one on the living room, and then maybe one at the window, right? And that was about it. You had the diner, and then the occasional street scene, and those were that was their setting for their scenes.
And they were very static. Yes.
That method of a static scene, I think, has gone away a lot. There's not, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't catch a lot of television now. Shows like How I Met Your Mother and Big Bang.
I don't watch sitcoms.
Yeah, and I don't have a good. Those are some of the last holdovers of that style. When shows like The Office started to happen with the moving camera, a lot more camera angles. That seems to be the norm now with guest sitcoms, and sitcoms even are so much different than they used to be. But we're talking scenes, and that is just chunked up in that event within the narrative. It's got a time beginning, time end, and it would hopefully have a point. There's so much that if you're writing aimlessly, there's almost no point in a scene. There's almost no point for the
stream of consciousness writing.
Yes,
you're talking about.
Sometimes that works, but most often it's very difficult to consume.
No, it isn't. It isn't for me either, because I'm like, just tell me what you're trying to say.
Right? Yeah, and
I don't want to have to. This is for my entertainment. I don't want to have to think that hard.
Right. And if you do want to think hard, okay, fine. But in most books that are fiction, especially, I mean, even in nonfiction, it needs to move you. It needs to have a central focus, and that is a pitfall of a lot of storytelling. Is what's the point? Last week we talked a lot about dialogue. Dialogue should serve the purpose of propelling the story, right? Revealing character,
Mhm.
emotions and motives and all those sorts of things. And we talked a little about a lot of the Quentin Tarantino movies.
Oh
And
yeah.
sure, the dialogue reveals character, but then it just keeps beating the character, and we get it. And after a while, it doesn't further the plot. It doesn't propel the
No.
story by any means. And some people like it, and that's fine.
And a lot of
So-
times what that does is it's just there for shock value.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
and
And
you're beating a dead horse. The good thing about comics is that because there's no budget
Yep.
on scene setup or anything like that, you can do whatever you want. You can, as long as you have the imagination to dream it. You can
Yep.
set your scenes up in comics however you want them to be, but you have to have a flair for drama.
Exactly. And you can't. There's the other thing too about even with your unlimited budget, your special effects budget, and your scenery budget in a comic, you need to mix things up. So that's something
Mhm.
that needs to be considered. I like to think of, so like you could take the Star Wars movies, the first three, episodes 4, 5, and 6, if you want to call them that, and they were chunked up almost in their own feel. This with space, snow, greenery, brown, that was part of the scenes. That was part of the distinct feel for within each chunk.
Yeah.
You could take all three movies and then you can chunk them up too. Because really,
Right.
there it's just a continuation.
What they do is they make mood boards for each
Yep.
scene change, and like Tatooine. Okay, this is the mood board is going to be beiges and browns, and
Yep.
here's the colors we're working with, and we're going to use this kind of tinted lenses on the camera to emphasize that this is a dusty, sandy planet.
Mm-hmm.
And then we move to the lush garden or jungles of where the Ewoks were, and the mood board changes.
Yep.
It's all in greens and lush and blues, and everything feels very alive and stuff like that.
And that is very purposeful. That is it. There's a
It
whole
is.
point.
Yeah.
Hi, Roberta. And I think my connection here might be a little blippy bloopy here. I don't know if it's somebody else. Barb, I think it's mine. It's usually mine because I live in the boondocks. Roberta, we are talking about making a scene, and we were just getting on to being purposeful about our scenes and making it obvious. And I brought up Star Wars and how the overarching, if you take the original three as kind of a continuation of one story, they are big scenes, chunked up smaller, with each feel, with the environment, with the characters, and so forth. But scenes need to have a purpose. Everything you write, every sentence, every bit of dialogue, every action, nothing can be thrown away. And so when you break up into your scenery, your scenes, they need to be a unit within themselves of storytelling. They need to have an event within the scene. I think they need to have either a change or something within the plot has to happen. It can't be pointless. Something within the plot has to happen. Something has to change, has to be affected. A course correction within the hero's goals has to happen. A revelation has to happen. A mood change, a huge piece of information has to be imparted. Something has to happen.
I'm going to
The
toss
point of
something in
changing
right.
scenes. Yep.
I'm going to toss something
Go
in
ahead.
right here. Speaking of, I'd mentioned earlier that I got the first 6 pages of Divinity today.
Mhm.
And the first thing I did was I got down my script
Yes.
and I went to the pages that were penciled and I compared them to the script to see how closely they matched with the description and everything like that. Now, what's interesting about my current artist, and I can tell everybody, it's Pat Kennedy, well-known Archie
Oh yeah, yeah.
artist. What I noticed about his is that he's doing them completely out of order. What he's doing, because the script jumps back and forth
Oh sure.
between inside and outside of this mansion, he's getting into the mood of the interior scenes, and he's doing all of those first because they have a certain ambiance to them. You know, and
Yes.
as an artist, I can see what he's doing. You get into a mindset when you're doing art,
Mhm.
and it's very much into a mood. So I can understand why he's doing it, jumping all over the place, page count. But if you look at the pages, they're all basically the same. There were continuous scenes. The book itself, you're seeing a portion of the inside a mansion, and then you're seeing some action outside of the mansion. Then you jump back into the mansion, and then you jump back out of the mansion as things ratchet up, you know. And he's doing them all from one point of view first.
And so, could you have written, when you wrote this Divinity number 4, you could have stayed within one scene, right? Am I to assume you could have said, you could take your, instead of dink 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 dink, you could have smashed them all together.
Really boring.
Right, and you did it to keep the action,
the tension going,
Yes,
because something's
yeah.
happening outside as they get, and the people inside the mansion aren't aware of what's happening outside the mansion, and you could see it coming closer. The action is going to come, and all of a sudden, partway through the story, it all meshes together. But you've got to build up to that, and so you get a sense of action going on. Even like inside the mansion is about mostly talking heads. So I mean, if you had that for 6 pages, you'd be
yeah.
So you have a page of talking heads, and you see what's going on outside the mansion. Then another page of talking heads, and then what's outside the mansion. So
a lot of action movies they'll jump from the action hero, the James Bond blowing stuff up, shooting things, to MI6 headquarters or whatever, you know, where they're watching on the screens or something like that. And
you get a little exposition.
Yep. A lot of times they've got to impart why it's so important. If he's got 17 seconds to stop the nuclear explosion, and Admiral blah, 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 and General such and such, and launch the missiles. And yeah, they've got to go back and forth. You're right. If it was a long scene of Central Command, it would get tedious. Apollo 13, another 90s movie. I'm sorry, everybody. Apollo 13 goes back and forth.
Tom
Action
Hanks.
on the it's a great movie. That's a good movie.
Yeah, Kevin Bacon too.
Space, yes. Oh my goodness, yeah. Lots of space, and then back to
and then it's really very static. You basically have 2 scenes inside the spaceship and Houston.
Right.
But
and
you would be surprised. You're like, okay, this whole movie, you have 2 scenes, right? 2 sets.
Pretty much.
But it's just nerve-wracking. You're on the edge of your seat the whole movie.
Yeah, they do. And so they two scenes chunked up in how they're presented. And every scene has its purpose. What is it accomplishing? So our examples we've given are chunked up, but you could just run them, well, because they overlap timeline wise, but chunking them up gives that sense of urgency, but they each accomplish something, and each of them is providing valuable information
that moves the plot along.
Exactly. Again, think of the sitcom. They could all sit in their living room the whole time and do what they do. A lot of sitcoms are a lot of dialogue, a lot of ha 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 ha, talk talk, ha ha ha. But putting them in different scenes does make it more interesting and does give a sense of the day progressing. The point of it is, okay, it's morning, now it's dinner time, now it's evening,
and Kramer runs in.
Yeah, the day progresses. So each scene should have a purpose, progressing the plot, and then likewise, it should have some sort of point of view. A lot of times, if you have an ensemble cast, it's tough to have one point of view. But like Apollo 13, Ed Harris was the guy in charge of whatever Houston. Yeah, he was the guy. Yeah, he was the guy in charge. Now there were lots of people talking on the Apollo module. It was a mix, but you have the point of view of those three guys, right, that were struggling to survive, and so having a central point of view.
Bill Paxton was the third one.
Yes, he has since departed, hasn't he? Did he die? No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Who did? One of those guys has died because he was. Oh, sorry if he hasn't.
No, none of them have died. Kevin Bacon's still around.
He
does Instagram all the time.
Wait, he's in Apollo. Wait, is he on Apollo 13?
Wasn't he?
Wait, yeah. Now that you said that,
Swayze?
No, not Patrick Swayze. No,
it was Kevin Bacon and Tom Hanks and Bill Paxton.
Might have to look that one up. Before we go too far, Roberta,
hi.
What project are you working on presently?
Well,
and
she's got a Divinity shirt on.
I was gonna say,
look at that.
I didn't notice all the time I've been on. I'm like,
you have been leaning forward.
Yeah, you were leaning forward.
Lean back a little bit, and I can see it.
Fantastic shirt. And where can people get those?
A fantastic shirt on the Silverline website.
Silverlinecomics.com. And there's goodies somewhere across the top. I always forget
That's so
to order swag.
It looks so good, by the way. I love this shirt.
Thank you. Well,
I've only had it for a day, but
you can thank Kevin West because that's his drawing. I just did the colors on that one, but he's so good.
It's amazing.
I have the original because I couldn't part with it. It was for sale on our first Divinity Kickstarter, and I bought it myself.
I'm glad you didn't start with it. It was precious. And it has all the heart.
Right there. He has passed away. Oh.
Yeah. Thank you, Dawn. Sorry. That's sad information to impart. Yeah. I thought somebody from that show, from the movie. Yeah. Yeah. He was in one of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode with a crossover with when S.H.I.E.L.D. was being dismantled because of the Hydra infiltration, and they crossed that over with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I haven't watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in a long time. It kind of, I felt, flew off the rails.
I never did. I don't remember if I ever where I stopped, but I stopped on it because it was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
It just felt a little strange.
Yeah, I feel like they cut their budget and it got a little hokier and kind of unwatchable. So, Roberta, what are you working on right now? And how far into the story crafting world do you delve?
Coloring.
You would not think much of it, right? Because you're like, well, I didn't come up with the things that sit on the dresser, but nonetheless, I still have to know what it might look like.
Mood. You set the mood. Mm-hmm. You're all about the mood.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it takes a long time to actually, go through the process of looking through everything that you get and making sure it's not changed for the storyline. It's fun because I get, bits and pieces of the art. I never get the whole book at one time. And so it's like unraveling mystery for me to watch.
Do you read the script first?
Yes. And they do tend to be fairly tight with the script. But that doesn't help with the scene setting. There may be one or two words here and there about scene setting, but
as a colorist, it's all up to you to really set the mood. I mean, you could have a jungle scene, and it's up to you whether it's going to be dark and gloomy or bright and shiny.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good. I'm glad you guys are talking about this because this is part of with a visual storytelling. The visuals is very much part of the story. So continue.
So what tends to happen for me is I start playing around with. I don't really have the dialogue because the lettering is never done at this stage. So it's kind of fun to guess what they're saying. You know, I have the script to go by, you know, for at least the main swath of what's happening. But I think it's kind of fun to, like, you know, just play with, well, how much room do I have behind the character that's not going to get taken up by a word bubble? And, you know, can I put some detail in there? And can I put some, you know, energy lines or something, you know, when there's something very tight and tense going on. But I like to make a progression of some kind. Either it's a scene, you know, like if you have a camera view on one side and the cut is on the other side of the room, I like to make the colors vastly different so you can quickly identify, you know, oh, we're back to this guy, you know, this end of the room, or, you know, so scene setting is very important on that, because you want to say, okay, well, maybe this wall should be white and this one should be dark blue, and, you know, so I can at least have a feeling between the two. And then you could just change the colors all, you know, based on drama. So
one of the most obvious mood settings I can think of, and Barb, you'll know what I'm talking about, is in the Batman, the Adam West Batman. Whenever the villains were on camera, the camera angle was always crooked. It was always at an angle, and
it's supposed to give you a feeling of anxiety and dissonance.
Exactly,
be uncomfortable, right?
Uncomfortable, and they're all crooked. They're not on the level, and and with the bright colors, of course, and all that sort of stuff. Everybody had their colors and the Joker's, you know, layer, and all. Everybody had to have their that makes it obvious in the storytelling world with the visuals. When you can make it instant, you know that you know where you are, or you know,
on the flip side of that,
a level of drama.
On the flip side of that, the current Batman movies, they make them so dark, and I know they're supposed to be grim and gritty, but they're so dark now that you can't see the background. You can't see hardly anything. You're like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. I'm like, is my TV good enough? I don't get it. I just can't see anything.
Can't see anything.
And I think that's cheating.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the mood, and it's supposed to be,
but the mood's got to relax sometimes.
Right? Yeah,
That's
very
the
true.
Thing is, there's got to
true.
be a change to the mood. It can't be like, oh, the entire texture of the movie.
Right. In the Star Trek world, anytime things were more intense or they were at battle, the lights are always dimmer. You know, red alert, of course. You know, everything's reds and blacks.
Flashing lights.
Yeah, give you an instant feeling. Sorry, Vic. Yeah, he yes. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was ever on the right path. It had its moments.
Mm-hmm.
It had its moments. I enjoyed it, and then I really didn't, and then I did again, and then I didn't, and I was done with it. It was the low budget Marvel storyline.
Did either one of you watch Gotham?
I did.
No,
I liked it.
I mean, it was good.
It was fun.
It was good, but they made a very deliberate choice to have it always raining.
Yeah,
it was always raining or gray clouds. The settings were always. There weren't any bright colors. It was always subdued colors.
It met on the railings and the, you know, fire escapes.
Yeah, and I actually read an article about it, and it's like, is the sun ever going to come out? It's like, no, that we made a specific choice to do that because we wanted it to be very noir and gloomy and dark. Yeah. So the sun never came out on the show. It was either nighttime and raining or daytime and gloomy and cloudy.
It was kind of interesting, you know, that they chose to do that and never let up.
Yeah,
I would want a release from that. I haven't seen the show, so I don't know how
it was
well
depressing. I thought
it made it sad. Yeah, they made a lot of sad.
Yeah,
there's no
situations and feelings.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to do that, you need to let up every once in a while, because then it makes the sad more profound. But I don't know. I don't know if it worked. I haven't seen that. I ran a Dungeons and Dragons campaign that's set in the Gothic horror world, and I was realizing that like every night of this campaign, every week we'd play, it was always a downer. And this is kind of the point of the world. You're in this world of dread and dismay, but we'd have to have some sort of glimmers of hope, because everybody playing was getting depressed because nothing good was happening, and there's always this sense of things, almost like just a persistent rot of and never getting a moment of good. So I would have to
put Vic's current comment.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, and the current Batman comics are becoming more of a collection of gray mush. Yeah, I haven't picked up a Batman comic in a long time.
Yeah.
So, and he's remember everybody how old Vic is. He was watching when he was 10.
Good for him.
How do you not?
Well, that's a good time to watch it.
Yeah, I have not watched it. Emo and a downer show, I guess. But I guess if you're gonna have that mood, I do feel like it needs to let up, which is why, like we were saying with Divinity, you've got to have a little bit of variety in your scenes. I think that adds, it makes it more interesting, makes people want to turn the page.
I have a tendency,
especially in the visual world, it's got to change. It's got to let up.
Yeah, since I'm inking and coloring Divinity, and writing it, I know Roberta is so much better at this than I am, but I'm still learning. But when I get to scenes where there's a lot of danger, I have a tendency to throw in more warmer colors, especially red.
Because, it's a go-to.
Yeah, it's a typical go-to.
It does help just quickly identify, here's what's going on. There's a lot
gives
of
you
anger.
A sense of danger, because red is associated with danger. So
that's excellent. Not often as a writer. First of all, as a writer, I frequently forget to tell my artist what time of day, even just day or night. In Steam Patriots #1, a lot of action happens in one day, so I remembered that because I wanted morning, I wanted middle of the day, because then I wanted the waning hours of the day. I wanted long shadows and a lot of oranges, because it needs to be obvious that night happens, because the next morning I wanted something happening. So I remembered that after the fact. And so with Steam Patriots 2, I did get a couple questions a couple times. When was this? What time of day? When is this happening?
I did the very same thing. The Divinity #3, if you'll notice, it's just coming out. I haven't gotten it yet, but I colored it, so I know what's going on. The beginning of the issue, it starts out in the morning, and as the issue goes on, the sun works up to the overhead and then down to the zenith, and we end up, the stars are coming out at the end of the issue. So there's a specific timeline as the day goes. It's one day, but it's very specific that it goes from morning to evening.
That's good. I like that. Yeah.
I like that progression. It feels like you won't really notice it, but it will feel right.
Right. And in the late afternoon, they're sitting in a diner, and it's very obvious that it's a late afternoon sun coming in the window,
That's cool.
They're highlighted on one side.
I think about that with TV shows, especially where the budget is a little tighter, and how they have to take into account the sunlight for their day, or especially if they're wanting weather and having to have a specific, rain or snow or cloud. And then if you can't film it all in one day, how infuriating that must be if the weather changes. Little known fact, Home Alone, a classic movie with Macaulay Culkin and Joe Pesci. they did not expect that snowstorm. There was all that snow in the movie was not intended to be there, but it happened, and they went with it. There you go. You can tell your friends at your next
Cool.
cocktail party that great bit of trivia.
Oh, that's neat.
Well,
It is.
When
It's
you
good
when
trivia.
you write, Scott, when you write
Yes.
in your scripts, I haven't seen your written scripts, so I
Mhm.
don't know. Do you tell your artist, okay, we're looking at a down view, or we're looking at a dramatic, in your face scene, or he's looking over his shoulder, so, or this view is from behind his head?
So to answer your question, most of the time, yes, because I have an idea of what's happening, and then especially if so for instance, there is a scene where a character is entering a tent. This is Revolutionary War stuff, entering a tent, and I don't want either character revealed immediately. I want the
So
dialogue to
backlight.
happen for a little bit. Yeah, so you see one of them from behind, like the tent flap is opening. So I'll say that, yeah. So from behind, character A is opening the tent flap. This person, protagonist, is stepping in, seen from behind, and we see so-and-so in the background, but obscured by the protagonist.
Mhm.
And then we'll do a 180, same thing, we'll see from the behind, but that other character is obscured as well. But yes, then an overhead or a close, just eyes, those sorts of things. There are some scenes where I've left the artist, I've given them the general idea and said, I trust your judgment on it, because if you have a certain visual idea, I'm okay. Usually I've only had a few panels come back that I thought weren't quite right what I was expecting.
Trying to remember the show where they always had this light, rectangular slash of light across the eyes, to emphasize the eyes.
That was an old technique in, the movie.
To show anguish or
emotion, yeah.
In the eyes.
Morticia
shaking eye.
Adams was always like that. In
Oh,
the Adams
there
family.
you go.
Yep.
That's what
She was
was.
always she but yeah,
Yeah.
they would make it, they would give it that hazy black and white time, everything would get hazy, and yeah, you're right, there would just be light across the eyes. Either was love, love struck,
Usually
or
love.
or anguish.
More.
Have that moment. Vic's chiming in. Last time I checked, it was on it was Batman Urban Legends. It was probably just one of the stories, because some of the Gotham books are grays and some are actually pretty good. Okay, so the Urban Legends is a lot of grays and monochromatic. I have nothing to chime in. I wish I did on the Batman, and the Batman topic, the topic of Batman. Comic books. Sorry, we'll get back to, we're talking scenes here tonight, everybody, if you're just chiming in. I'm always amazed how quickly we fill time with our topics, and then with our sidebars here. We're putting together scenes, and scenes within any story. When I say this, we have all our rules for storytelling, but then the rules can always be broken. But a good scene should be a little story in miniature. If it's a novel, the novel in miniature, the comic in miniature, because it should have a distinct a beginning, middle, and end. It should have a distinct inciting incident to why that scene is happening. It should have a distinct problem that so-and-so, the point of view character, is getting over, and it should have it should have the drama throughout it, and then either maybe resolve it. But with good storytelling, you don't want to resolve most things until the end, or even not at all, then really annoy your readers to leave things unresolved. But it should, at the end of the scene, move on to the next thing, meaning unresolved drama that makes the reader want to turn the page.
That's
right?
tension.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But it should make sense. Something should have moved. It shouldn't just be a static. We shouldn't be They shouldn't be left in the same place that they were at the beginning of the scene. Something needs to happen, or you double down on the problem. You know, if you're not going to progress, you're going to pile on the
I
bad.
like the
Usually.
piling on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do
then
too.
it gets way worse.
I love that.
So when
I've
you're
been
writing,
watching.
do you think about where you are page wise to make them? So you have the splash page on the front,
Mhm.
and then you open it up and you have page 2 and page 3.
Yep.
At the bottom of page 3, are you always aware of that? That last panel has got to be something that makes them want to turn the page.
I am. I don't adhere to that 100%, but if I'm going to have a reveal or a scene change, I want it to be from the right hand, so from the odd to the even. I don't want to have a big reveal be on the same opening, you know, as I don't want the left hand to turn to the right hand, and because your eyes are going to see it already. I want the page turn. So, for instance, Rory mostly is writing, and I'm helping him. He's doing a teaser. He's working on some sea stories, a sea-going story world within the Steam Patriots world.
Seafaring,
seagoing, ships and sailing, and cutlasses and blunderbusses, and he wants to have a distinct scenery change from blues and beautiful greens to storm, to gray and miserable. And well, that's the beauty of a page turn. You go from bright blues and greens and sailing along with beauty and splendor, and then page turn, and you can almost hear the weather change. So that's another beautiful thing with comic books. Movies can do it too. You can make a big scene change, and then that's a great way to change the mood, change the scene. But what happened before it should be some sort of resolution or some sort of feel of now it's time to move on. We've come to a point that makes sense to turn the page or cut, fade, go to the next scene. And so, Barb, yeah, comic books are beautiful that way. The panels can change the scene, but the page turn is a great time for that scene change. And of course, leaving something unfinished on the right-hand page is perfect.
This is why I have a co-scripter in RA, because he's an old vet, and I'm new to the writing thing. Old to the inking thing, new to the writing thing. So, like a mentor.
you're just adding to be able to do the whole thing completely. And I think it's probably because you're doing all these different pieces that you're able to continue going forward with your stories in a way that the pace works. You know, having that practice.
I am really, really, really looking forward to the next Steam Patriots, because the first one just grabbed me.
Oh, I know.
It's one of my favorite books.
I love your book so much. So
thank you. I'm both of us are super anxious, and we hope, because it picks up right at the end of the last one, and I hope it grabs people like the first, and we don't die, fall into that trap of the slow middle of a story. But I think it's going to be really good. Vic's telling us old school Valiant comics always set scenes that are very clear. They also can be pretty or very boring. They don't understand balance. Are you saying, Vic, dragging out a scene? It can. You got to know when to end. And then another thing too, jumping into a scene is jumping in, just like with dialogue, jumping in as late as you can. Like with dialogue, you don't include, unless you have a reason for it. You don't include that. Hey, how you doing? Not bad. How about you? What have you been up to? You don't include that. You skip over it. You jump into the coffee's been poured, the cup's half empty, the meal's half eaten, whatever. They're talking. Same with the scene. You jump in as late as possible, or something's already happening that draws the main character into it. Something's happening. It's not to come in and sit down and go over unless there's a point to it. And then get out as soon as you can as well. Got to throw in my Star Trek reference always. The motion picture, visually stunning, great in a Star Trek world, great for 1979. There are so many scenes in that movie that could just be chopped, just trimmed down. I know what they're trying to do. They were trying to appeal to the visual appeal. They had the special effects. They had the budget. It was so much new and novel, but it just goes on and on and on with no change in scenery, no new dialogue, nothing to make it interesting. And there's lots of movies that do that there's just drag on a scene. And even if they were, what's that?
It's filler.
Yeah. And in big budget movies, I'm surprised when that happens, because I think who's directing and editing, and I don't know.
I think what wonderful things are on the chopping floor to make this happen.
Yes. What did they? Yeah, they could have extended something really good, but instead they've drawn out this pointless scene, and comic books again. I think it's because we're so constrained by our page number. Our page
22
count.
page format. You got to squeeze a lot in there.
You got to, or you do that expanded storytelling, which then, but we can't draw our books out into a year to tell, the origin story of Divinity or Felix Ward. We can't do that. Our readers will dump us if we were to decompress. That's the word I was looking for. Decompress storytelling. Some of the big guys could do that for a while. Spider-Man, was it Brian Michael Bendis? He expanded Spider-Man's story origin. Stan Lee did it like in 6 pages, and he did it like in 6 issues or something like that.
Yeah. And speaking of the 6-page thing, I got a real good crash course in writing when I did the Divinity Christmas story. I did it all myself. I didn't have any help. And I had to write the whole story at beginning, middle, and end in 6 pages.
6 pages.
Boy, that is a crash course.
Yeah.
In writing.
Yeah. And for people writing out there, people learning to write, I would encourage you to look into trying your hand at some flash fiction. Flash fiction has some various definitions, but usually it's under 1,000 words. From
it was not nudity. Okay.
That was the standard, under 1,000 words for flash fiction, and not doing a vignette. What's that? What did I say?
It's not nudity. Okay, good to know.
Not nudity. What did I say?
Flash.
Oh my! Wow. Yeah.
You're slow tonight.
Wow. I have been drinking. I know. You got a flash, like a flash in the pan. And it's not a vignette, and it's not to be some cliffhanger or something, but yeah, tell a story, a whole story in 1,000 words. Very difficult. Going back to overdoing our scenes, people over-explain their domestic scenes. Yeah, I don't need 3 panels of waitress pouring coffee. Yeah. It's very rare, Vic, you're right, that you need the commonplace unless you're trying to drive home a point. If let's say your person is in the diner and life is rough or slow, okay, if you want to slow it down and have a panel of a pouring of coffee, the cutting up the egg, the fork full of food in the mouth, those serve a purpose, slowing it down to give it the feel of mundane. But most often you can skip so much of that. And if you do it once, don't keep doing it. There's Rory's here. Okay, start over. In the visual arts world, the opening scene of the pan of the messy apartment, right? And the alarm going off, and the person disheveled and asleep on the bed. That is an overdone trope. An overdone trope to let the viewer know this individual does not have his or her life together.
I like it when
Overdone.
they get tangled in the sheets.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. And they have to tumble
The
out
hop.
and they fall. Yeah. We haven't seen that before.
I like those transitions where they're like hopping across the screen and then like dressed coming back the other way and then forgetting something going back. And
Are you saying in like a movie or okay?
yeah, in a movie.
Okay. All right. Well, okay.
Montage. When
I'm
in doubt,
sure it's
montage.
happening in
A
comic books.
montage.
Yeah, Vic's saying without any dialogue, with usually with showing too much of the mundane, he is over it. Yeah, and most of the time
Boring.
we don't need it. In the comic book world, we don't have time. We don't have time for showing the mundane unless we absolutely need it, but it has to have a purpose, which is everything we've been saying.
It has to have a purpose.
When you said like eating food or pouring coffee or something, that made me think if you needed to make a scene uncomfortable, that's when you could use it. Yeah. Like an up close shot of somebody's mouth with food going in. Nobody wants to see that.
Yeah. Nobody wants to see Denethor eat a tomato, right?
Well, what if he's making such a point that he has to spit,
Yeah.
He's like one of the sloppy eaters because he's so mad, yelling at you while he's eating.
Yeah. No one likes sloppy eaters. That's any villain that instantly they're a villain if they're eating like that. And
or what was it in Inglourious Bastards? The
language.
My bad. The pie, not the pie scene, but they're at dinner and everything about the scene like grates on you.
Oh, I haven't seen. I've only seen the opening of that.
I've seen it. Yeah,
it's good. It's really well done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's set. Yeah, you're right. There's a purpose when you throw the mundane in to give a feeling to make the viewer or the reader being like
uncomfortable.
Oh my gosh! Either get on with it sometimes. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, Vic says his ears. Yeah, Rory, come on.
Sorry,
got young viewers here.
Young and impressionable.
Yeah. Decompressed storytelling, makes me drop books I can't afford because you can't spend. You don't want to buy the book that leaves you starving for more. You can't afford to buy the book. It's like The Walking Dead did that, and I tried to stick with it. And I have.
Yeah.
There's like 3 whole seasons where nothing happens. It's a whole season, but you have an episode.
Have a payoff somewhere, but.
You'd hope.
Once you've invested so much time, you think it to yourself. There's got to be a payoff.
There's got to be.
You can't just sit here for nothing. So
I would hope, right? But so you have a whole episode, and you get to the end. The music would come, and be like, what? What was that?
Yeah.
But buying comic books, Vic, I'm dropping $4 to see nothing happen is. It's not. I don't like it. It's frustrating. But each
filler
scene,
stuff.
it's got to serve a purpose. It has to propel a plot. It has to have some sort of mini drama. It has to have solve or compound a problem, and it has to have its feel. Brent is here, our visual artist, our filmmaker.
Yay.
Brent, good to see
we ready
you.
to start?
We're ready. Okay,
now.
and folks, and 3. We're live. All right, Brent, take it away.
We have Wayne's World cards with something on the back. Start the interview. This man has no sphincter.
Vic's giving me a hard time. I do have that Spectrum Wi-Fi. Can't do much about it out here. Out in the boondocks.
I feel you.
People put me down because that's the side of town I was born in. Sorry, folks. I got a string on a can. The can is sending that Wi-Fi to my computer. And if I turn my computer just right, my kids have to hold the antenna up on the roof.
Bunny ear antenna.
to get that Wi-Fi. Brent, we're down to the last few minutes. We're talking scenes. What if you were to write a scene? Give me quick. What's got to be in it? What's got to make it worth the viewer's while?
A start and an end.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's good.
Characters
like
would be good. Some kind of attention. Something that would reveal something about either the characters or the plot, and it's kind of almost the same thing. And it needs to have some kind of forward momentum, so it doesn't just.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. That there you go, folks. That's the clip we're going to use. for all of our promos
Did
from now
you
on.
guys throw out the I forget who said it, but like every scene is a poster?
I said, yeah, it's the novel or the story in miniature. Maybe not the whole story, but it's gotta be, it's gotta have its own drama and its beginning, middle, and end. And so the whole story in miniature. And Brent, you said it's gotta have a purpose. If it just sits there to be a transition, throw it away, dump it. And Roberta and I agree. If you can compound the problems, I like compounding problems. I do. I love the feeling of solving.
You like compounding my problems.
Yeah, that's easy. That's easy. I like the feeling of that the hero has made some progress, only to find out, sorry.
One step back.
Yeah, I like that.
But you're an evil DM.
I'm sure he is.
I am. Speaking of DMing, we have like 4 minutes. The 31st, I'm going to go see the D&D movie. It looks hilarious.
Oh yeah,
Let us
that
know.
looks good.
I will tell you if it's any good. If it's any good. We are down to our last 4 minutes. I don't want to cut anybody short, but everybody out there, before we wrap up, we always, I always don't want to never, anytime, once, even think about forgetting. Thank you all for supporting our Kickstarters, and put on your calendars April 11th.
Ooh, what's
Go
happening?
to Kickstarter.com. I'll tell you later, Rory. Kickstarter.com. Search Silverline, or go to any of our socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
SteamPatriots.us.
SteamPatriots.us. There are links to go get notified. You are not backing the campaign. You are clicking to get notified. You're going to put your email address in. And then on the 11th, you'll get an email from Kickstarter saying, hey, by the way, Beyond the Stars #2 and Steve Patriots #2 are live on Kickstarter, and we want you to grab those because they're both awesome stories, and they're going to be awfully good stories. And we're gonna have some stretch goals, of course, all the usuals, and we'll have
just
some
wait for those stretch goals. They're
behind
good.
the scenes goodies for our VIP fans. This has been a great.
Scott.
What's that?
Oh.
Huh?
What?
Okay. I'm not. We've been talking scenes and creating scenes in the craft of writing. Also, if we have like years of classic Silverline shows out there, folks. If you want to read or watch about the craft of creating and the craft of writing and arting and comic books and pop culture and storytelling and all that sort of stuff, go check out all our shows on YouTube. And
I kind of want to go back to the beginning,
place to
start
look for
rewatching
on
again
YouTube.
to see if we actually had any good
Before we
ideas.
go, does anybody? Yeah. We all looked a little bit. We had sideburns and big mustaches and big collars and polyester back in the early the early days of the show. Brent's hair was out to here.
Yeah, he had a fro. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Vic is saying he's got
describing my average Saturday night.
Yeah. 13 days. Yeah. And I don't know. Roland has to explain. We were launching on Wednesdays, but now we're on Tuesdays, so we might have to crash Tim's show.
We're gonna take over.
Yeah, because he's saying on a Tuesday, and that's the 11th. And then there's replays on the Madness Network. Middle of the night when you're up watching a public access television. Yeah. Home of the Inane Rant, public access TV, and go to the Madness Network and watch us and our inanity. We've been talking scenery, making scenes. Brent, Rory, Roberta, Barb, thank you guys. Any parting thoughts before we wrap up? The hour flies by.
Don't make a scene.
Yeah, don't put too many things in the scene. So make sure it has a purpose.
Thank you. Yes.
Unnecessary filler.
Background can have a purpose.
Yeah.
Anything you can do to harness some kind of emotion would be great.
Or personality.
Find an artist that can draw emotion.
Yes.
When you write consternation, make sure you get consternation and not constipation. They're very different.
They look similar.
I wanted to be concerned.
On that note,
Rick says Tuesday is good for the algorithm. I'll believe it. I don't know. You can tell me algorithm. Algorithm is always it's
well,
like the
Vic,
word of the,
if we don't meet our goal,
oh wait a minute. Vic's got the inside scoop.
Oh,
Roland's running Tuesday. Where's Tim for the what? No one ran this by me.
I don't know anything.
Unacceptable.
I just work here.
What he's saying?
Cue lemon grabs unacceptable here, and I will screech that out. I can't handle it. Okay, well, Tuesday night, the 11th, we got another week. This has been our show. We've been talking, making a scene, visuals and audibles and beginning, middle, end, and all the good things that go into creating stories. Folks, comment, please. Like, share, subscribe, all those things. Share far and wide. Share our link for our campaign that's coming up. Keep circulating the URL. And Vic says Tim's going on vacation again. Who authorized?
Doesn't
that?
have
Tim?
our permission.
Tim,
He's not allowed.
we did the paperwork. The paperwork has not come across our desks. I don't know what's going on. Tell Tim.
DPS report.
It's yes. Disapproved. For all our Silverline fans out there, we thank you for joining us. Team, thank you for being on the show. This has been a great evening. Without further ado, before we go, we like to say, make mine Silverline.
Mine Silverline.
Silverline.
And I gotta find. Keep saying make mine Silverline because I always get too far in. Good night, everybody.
Make mine Silverline.
All right.